Welcome to my channel, Rebuilt. My name is Raina. I will be talking so much about Jesus.
We good. If you don't, we still good, but I hope you can love him.
Anyway, thank you for taking the time to watch. I have been battling a few things in regards to my purpose and all that stuff. And I heard it was kind of weird because I always wanted to, I would go to my prayer closet and God, I want you to use me, Father. I want you to use me as a vessel, And then back of my mind, it would
I mean, you've gotten arrested. Story for another day. You have done all these things. You used to get licked. Okay, who can use you? You think that somebody wants to listen to you? And
you know what? I need to fight back because this thing, my worn out Bible, this thing tells me something different. It tells me that God used the worst of the worst, and he also used the most ordinary people to do extraordinary things, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm talk about a few people from the Old Testament and a few people from the New Testament, and I will try to put like references down here so you can, if you've never heard of their story or if you want to counter check or whatever, I'll put the references over here. Now the first person I want to talk about is Abraham. Abraham is known as the father of all nations, right?
many sons so far. I am one of them. And so are you. So
God used Abraham, right? And if you look at Abraham's history, he used to be a moon worshiper. They never believed in God, but just God appeared to him and told him to move, to take his things and just go to the place where he wanted to. He was being led to, and he obeyed, right? But one thing that we never talk about, or one thing I noticed in the Bible,
Now there was a famine in the land, and Abraham went down to Egypt to live there for a while because the famine was severe. As he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, I know what a beautiful woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, this is his wife. They will want to kill me, but let you live. Life will be spared because of you. First
of all, let me tell you, if the Bible says you are beautiful, honey, you are, okay? Sarah must have had something going on, because if the Bible tells you you're beautiful, you are. You are gorgeous. So he lied, and if you continue to read the story of Abraham, he did that twice, but God still used him. I'm just trying to make you understand. All these people we read about in the Bible, they were all human. They all had their flaws, right? We were born into sin, so we have this flesh, we have these earthly suits that tells us that we can't be perfect, but we don't need to be perfect to be used by God. All right, let's talk about somebody else. Let's talk about Moses. We know that the 10 Commandments were given to Moses, okay? But I want to set up a scenario for you, okay? So this is just in the context of Moses. For those who don't know about him, I don't know who watches my channel, if you are saved or not. So let me just give you a brief scenario of Moses, right? He was born, at the time when he was being born, the Egyptians had called out it was like a decree for sons to be killed because they were kind of outnumbering the Egyptians. So he was an Israelite, of course, and he so the mother just saved him by putting him in a stack of reeds, or a reed basket. He went afloat on the river Nile, and one of Pharaoh's daughters took him, brought him up. He knew that he was Israelite, but anyway, he killed an Egyptian, and he fled, and he went away. He went to Midian, or away from Egypt. But just when he was chilling with the sheep and the goats and the man and the whatever, right? Like, he turns and he sees a burning bush, okay? So you turn and you see a burning bush, but when it's not no ordinary burning bush, okay, my friend, it's not. It's spectacular, because if you look deeper and if you look closer, none of the leaves or like the branches were being burnt, okay? So I want you to understand that. You see that, what would you do? I mean, you would get curious, right? And that's what Moses did. He was curious, and he was trying to figure out he was trying to figure out, why is this happening? And when he went closer to see what miracle this is, the Lord spoke to him. He said, Moses, don't go any further, because where you're standing on is holy ground. He heard the voice of God. And even after that, after that whole after he heard the voice, the Lord continued. God continued talking and just making himself known. He said, I am who I am. I am the God of Abraham. I am the God of Isaac. I'm the God of... Like, he gave him a whole introduction of who he was. But Moses was like, this is super... To me, if I see that, I'm going to fall flat on my face and just obey that voice, because I know that's none other but God. But after all that whole introduction, Moses, he's like, because after God introduced himself to Moses, he said, I want you to go back to Egypt, and I want you to take my people from slavery, from the captivity they're going through. And Moses, after seeing all those signs and wonders and even heard the voice, he was like, and that's when God told him, who created your mouth? Didn't I do that? So I will give you the words to speak. And he was still reluctant. He was like,
oh, you know, I don't know. It got to
a point where God had to tell him, you know what? How about if I send you with Aaron, your brother? He's much of a speaker. Would that make you feel better? That's so awesome to me and so amazing to me, right? Like, he still believes in us. He still has faith in us, and he still used Moses. Like, he split the sea. That's ridiculous. And Moses still doubted him, you know. So, I mean, there are good things that he did. I'm not disputing that, but I'm just saying that if God can do all of that to show himself and reveal himself to Moses, but Moses still doubted. But he still used Moses. Do you understand? What about you and what about me? What about you and what about me? We are the church. We have the capacity. We are all moving parts of the church. There's something that you could do about the ministry, about the good news. But let's go to the last person that I love personally in the Old Testament, and that's David. David, everybody knows about David and Goliath and everything he did, right? Now, for this particular video, I want us to concentrate on the fact that when he became king and he was prosperous and God was just blessing him, what did he do? He was just chilling one day, and he peeked through the window and he saw this gorgeous woman, okay? He saw this gorgeous woman by the name of Bathsheba, and I just find it funny that she's called Bathsheba. David saw her when she was taking a bath. I don't know, that goes beyond the point. But he saw her, he lusted after her, he wanted her, okay? David said, I need to get her, I need to have her, right? He got to the point where he decided to kill her husband so that he can have her for himself, right? This is David. David is described by a lot of people as a man after God. He is a man that goes down in history as the greatest king of Israel, but yet he still had a flaw. He went out and murdered the husband of Bathsheba so that he can have Bathsheba for himself. Did God stop using him? In fact, I'm not saying God was pleased with whatever he did. He was actually resentful and very remorseful. But God still continued to use him. That's why up to today, you and me, we know about the story of David. So he had his flaws, but God still used him. God still used David. And if he could use David, what can't he do with us? We just have to tap into the source, and the source is him. And he will tell us what we need to do, or he will give us the assurance that we have everything we need to fulfill our purpose. So now let's go to the New Testament, and I want to just start off with a very, to me, this guy, Peter, the disciple of Jesus. I feel like Peter was bipolar. You know what? Because you can't, Matthew 16:17, right? This is when Jesus went to Caesarea, and he was asking his disciples, who do you think I am, right? So in Matthew 16:17,
who do people say the Son of Man is? They replied, some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets.
So Jesus is asking his disciples, who do people say I am, right?
Jesus asked, what about you? Who do you say I am? This is what Peter said. Peter said, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. That's when Jesus replied to him and said, blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by man, but by my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it.
Okay, so in the same chapter, if you go down to verse 22, took him aside and began to rebuke him, because God was talking about when how this is all going to happen, how he's going to get arrested, and all his when he was predicting his death. And and the Bible says in Matthew 16:22,
to rebuke him. Never, Lord, he said. This shall never happen to you. Jesus turned and said to Peter, get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You don't have in mind the things of God, but the things of men.
I want you to understand something. Peter, the person, the disciple that Jesus said, upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not come against it, is the same guy who was rebuked by Jesus when he tried to look like he was trying to defend Jesus, but he really wasn't. Peter was bipolar. He's the same guy that cut off the ear of the a soldier who came to arrest Jesus. You know, that's when Jesus told him, Peter, you know, you need to know, if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. It's Peter. Peter had such a rash character. And let's not forget that it's the same Peter who denied Jesus 3 times. Not once, not 2 times, but 3 times. Peter denied Jesus 3 times. He had seen all the miracles that Jesus had done, but he still denied him. He was still a very influential disciple, because on his first sermon, he had over 3,000 salvations. Jesus used him, just like he said, upon this rock I'll build my church. 3,000 people came to the Lord. So I want you to understand something. Peter had a rash attitude. I mean, he's human. But look at what God did with him. And we can go on and on. But I want to Paul, because Paul is somebody that was very, very, very important. He kind of wrote like or almost past half the New Testament. He was persecuting Christians left, right, and center. In fact, in the Bible it says he was in the front line when Stephen was getting stoned. So he hated Christians, and he hated the Christians to a point where he wanted to kill all of them. Do you understand? He wanted to kill all of them until Jesus revealed himself. So what does this tell me? I'm just a girl in California, just chilling from Kenya. I didn't even know I'm gonna be in the United States, but I'm here now, and I have to just do what I have to do over here. But if Jesus did all these things to ordinary people like these, I mean, look at the disciples. None of them was educated. None was educated. And there are people who were educated those days, like Romans. They were pretty, you would say they were educated. But Jesus used fishermen, tax collectors. Like, he can use me too. He can use me too. And he can use you as well. If you're watching this and you feel like, you know what, I don't know what my purpose is, you just need to tap into the source. Talk to God. Now, he might not be No, he might not do that. He might communicate with you. But you need to have a relationship with Christ. And as tore up as my Bible is, I feel like this is the way that God communicates to his people in this time and age. Certainly this is the same way that he's been talking to me, and this is the same way he's going to talk to you. So I feel like if you are watching this, you're watching this for a purpose. Nothing happens coincidentally. So if you liked this, if you want to see more, if you want to comment, if you want to talk about Jesus, and if you don't even know Jesus, let me know. if you have no other person who knows about Jesus, feel free to comment, and I'll just feel, you know, we can interact in there. But if you like what you see, go ahead and subscribe, go ahead and share, and until next time, thank you for watching. And